Good start. I want to also recognize Tina, my wife. She is the greatest blessing in my life. There's no question about it. And the relationship we have has brought great joy. She actually has been a blessing to you as well today. We drove today, got up together, drove separately because I'm heading to training after this, and got here about 5:45 and got out of my car, and I'm grabbing my bag and I'm looking for my notes, and they're not in the car. And Tina said that's why we drove separately, and she headed back to grab the notes, and that's why I just threw them up here now. So she continues to be a great blessing in my life, and one of the messages to you today is partner well. Association, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, but partner well. And in our marriage, and I'll speak as well from a joy standpoint, early on in my marriage, I found the need to compare, and I think Theodore Roosevelt once said, comparison is the thief of joy. Is that comparing myself to Tina, and how come she didn't think the same way or see things the same way? And it wasn't until I recognized that she had different gifts than I did. And it was in her different gifts that complemented who we were and who I was that I actually started finding and experienced really the joy and fulfillment in our marriage. So I would encourage you that if you have a significant other, if you have a spouse, that you enjoy the differences, the gifts that they bring, because that's where the joy is. Somebody once told me that if you and your spouse are identical, one of you is not needed. So again, she is my greatest blessing, and I appreciate Ronnie inviting her today and being here. I'm so impressed with how many people, how many men are showing up this early in the morning. I get up early, we train in the morning, but for you to be here and be a part of growth, development, and learning is quite impressive. And I think it's a product of the culture here at Southeast. The culture produces that and encourages that. And it's so impressive to see so many men here today that are willing to enhance their lives, and not only their lives, but enhance their lives to help other people. And again, that's why we're here for sure. I want to again thank Ronnie for inviting me. As he said, about 6 years ago we met, and I so much value his sense of humor and really his genuine care for others. And his friendship. He's been a great friendship, friend to us, to our family, and we've gotten to know his family very well, and we so much appreciate it. He's given me a directive today, and he gave me a great introduction of long. It was a long introduction because he gave me a direction today. He said, be short and good, is what it was. And I think it was the late George Burns who said, the secret of a good sermon is to have a good beginning, a good ending, and have them as close together as possible. So I'll try to do that for you today. The exercise of preparing for you today has been so helpful. And one of the things I'd recommend is if you have something to write with, have it out. Journal. And does anybody have a journal here today that they're using? Anybody? One in the back. Tina, if you can deliver. This is a book. This is a gift. This is a book that Tina and I wrote, Finding Your Gifts, children's book. Hopefully you have a son or daughter back home that will enjoy it. But here's why. Is why I was once told, and I would challenge Southeast and Ronnie to provide journals for this group as you move forward, if not right away, but as this program continues to grow. And here's why. I was told that the palest ink is more powerful than the greatest memory. That you can sit here and I will hopefully provide some wisdom and experience of my own. I can share with you my experiences, but to take that with you and writing it down is so powerful that it stays with you much longer than your memory. And here's even a greater power. I have journals at home that I journal my own experiences, that the things that happen during the day, the joyful moments of the day and those experiences. And not only does it help me when I go back through the journal, but there will be a point in my life where I will take that journal and I will pass it to my son. I will pass it to my daughter. And at that point, then I pass my experiences, my teachings, my learnings on to them. And how powerful is it then? And the legacy of what I've learned, my life then is then a product of something I could pass on to them. So as you continue to listen to speakers, as you continue to come here, I highly recommend you bring a pen and a piece of paper and write it down and get in the habit of doing it on a daily basis. Because again, those memories, those experiences are so valuable and useful, not only to your growth and development, but they will be very useful for the legacy you leave for your family. The exercise has been so wonderful for me to prepare for today, because it's forced me to contemplate really what is joy. What is joy? Because I live a life that I hope is joyful, that I experience joy on a regular basis, but defining it, being here today and defining it for you was a bit of a challenge. How do we define it? And in most times what we do in today's society is we go to Webster and we look up the definition, or for today's society, Google it, and you find a definition. But that's not God's definition necessarily. In fact, if you go to Webster or Google it, it says basically what joy is happiness. I disagree with that, because I think happiness is based on circumstances, based on whether U of L wins, UK wins, whether we get a raise, whether the demeanor of another person. Those circumstances decide our happiness, but joy is much more than that. All right? Joy transcends circumstances. So where do we find the definition? The Bible. And if you go to the Bible and you read in the Bible, it says, the fruit, this is Galatians 5:22. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, goodness, kindness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. It says, against such things there is no law. So what it says is joy is produced from the Spirit. Having the right Spirit, the Holy Spirit, the indwelling of the Holy Spirit in us is what produces the joy. Joy is not in things. Joy is in us. And it is that connection to God, it is the indwelling of the Holy Spirit that produces that fruit, that produces that joy in our life. And the key is that connection to God, is staying connected to God. And I've found in my life that maintaining that connection and refilling my spirit on a regular basis takes discipline. It takes effort. It takes a commitment to do it every single day. There's a Napoleon Hill. He's a famous author of Think and Grow Rich. You might have heard of him. But he also wrote another book, and it's called Outwitting the Devil. Most people haven't heard of it because when he wrote it, right after Think and Grow Rich, it was so controversial, his family wouldn't let him publish it. So it wasn't until most recently, this Think and Grow Rich was written in the 1940s, it wasn't until recently that the book was published. And the reason why they wouldn't let him publish it, because it was so controversial about the topic. Basically what it was a conversation between Hill and the devil. And the devil in this dialogue reveals how he captures people. It's pretty intense. And what he says is he uses tools to distract us. He uses tools to get us moving and drifting in a direction that we never pursue our full potential. He says, what I do is use these tools to help them lose their focus. There's a discipline in my life to maintain that focus, the focus in maintaining a connection to God and the indwelling of the Spirit. And what I found is what affects that most, what affects my spirit most, what affects me the most is my thoughts. On a daily basis, how I think controls that spiritual indwelling. And how do we control that? What I know is this: our thoughts are expressed in our words reinforce our beliefs, and our beliefs ultimately determine how we see the world and how we view the world. First and foremost, that view of the world comes from our thoughts and how we think. The discipline to control and manage our thoughts is critical to not only, again, how we view life, but the quality of life we have, the joy we experience in life. Staying positive, staying upbeat, anticipating good things in our life is critical. Norman Vincent Peale said, "Change your thoughts and you will change your world." So the question is, how do we manage our thoughts? And I'll read from another book, from TNT, The Power Within You, Claude Bristol. Claude Bristol wrote a couple of books, one being The Magic of Believing, wrote it again in the 1940s, a long time ago, followed up with a book called TNT, The Power Within You. And he talks about the importance of actually being a gatekeeper for our thoughts, about managing our thoughts and directing our thoughts. And in a book it says, the uncontrolled mind of any individual is little more than an open sewer, which takes in all manner of refuse and debris in the form of wrong thoughts and feelings, along with the good. Unless you stand guard over what you take in, there is no sifting, no filtering of good from bad. It all goes into the inner consciousness. And what goes in must eventually come out in the same form, or remain in to attract more of the same, because like attracts like. Every thought is a seed. If you plant crab apples, don't plan on harvesting delicious apples. We must manage and control our thoughts. It is so important to maintaining a positive attitude. There's a father of personal development, Earl Nightingale. He said more than anything else, we become what we think about. Whatever is our most prominent thought, we migrate to. What shapes our influences? What shapes our thoughts? And I want to talk to you about 3 things in my life that I focus on that shape my thoughts and ultimately my spirit on a daily basis. Charlie Jones was a great writer, publisher, and a great motivational speaker. And he said there are 2 things that really shape our lives more than anything else. He believes that we will be the same person in 5 years with the exception of 2 things: what we read and who we associate with. Now, what we read is really no different than association, because what happens is when we read on a regular basis, it is like taking the life of somebody else, of really experiencing the life of somebody else. So a long time ago, Tina and I had mentors, and what they said to us was, if you read from good books, if you read from nutritional, powerful, substantial, godly books, for 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, and you do that every day for 4 years, you will be amongst the most wisdom-filled people in the world. We believe them. We believe them. And then when they broke it down, they said 15 minutes a day. Most chapters are about 15 minutes. That you could read a chapter in about 15 minutes. And if you read a book, books are usually about 15 chapters long. You'll get through 2 books a month. And if you do that for 4 years, the amount of information that you end up taking in And what we found for us was not only did it significantly change our lives, but it changed the way we thought. And that was hugely powerful. People that know how to read and don't read are no better than people that are illiterate. The power of reading, again, is that we can read in 2 weeks what it took somebody a lifetime to figure out. And when we're reading from good books like the Bible, there is no better book to read from. All personal development books have originated from the Bible. They pull out those success principles from the Bible, and they feed them to you in short little areas. Somebody once said to me, the Bible doesn't mean what it says. It means so much more. That to really read the Bible, we have to be invested in it. We have to study it. It's not just the words on a page, it's the meaning of what it is. And again, reading from good books is the same thing. What happens, and we found this in our lives, it fills us on a regular basis. Zig Ziglar once said that reading, and not just reading, but you doing things on a regular basis are important for us because of what it does to our mind and body. He says, we shower every single day. Why? Because the dirt of life gets on us. Grit, mud. Why not then spiritually and mentally that we don't do the same things, that we don't have the same hygiene mentally and spiritually? We need a cleansing every single day. And we need to take responsibility for that. For Tina and I, the reading has so significantly changed our lives and how we think and allowed us to stay positive, encouraging on a regular basis. The second thing is who we associate with. Now, what we've been told is this, is that the 5 people you hang around with the most, you will be in the middle of those 5 people in all areas of your life. In all areas of your life. As you look around your table, some of you may be encouraged, others may be disappointed. But it is true. It is true that you will be in the middle of those 5 people that you hang around most in all areas of your life. Financially, morally, how you think, your attitude. Who you hang around with is a choice. It's a decision, like we heard earlier from Ronnie. Joy is a choice. How we think, who we are, is very directly associated with who we hang out with and influenced by who we hang out with. Who we call our friends, who we call our mentors, and who we allow to associate with us to influence our thoughts and our attitude. Jim Rohn tells a story, and Jim Rohn is one of my mentors. I've never met him. I listen to him on a regular basis on CDs. It's just like reading. It's having that influence every single day. I've been influenced and mentored by some of the greats, Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar. They sit right in my car, right next to me in that passenger seat, because what I do is I throw in that CD, and there they are every single day on my ride to work and back, and I listen to them influencing me every single day. We get to choose our mentors and associations not just by who we sit next to, but again, who we're going to listen to on a regular basis. And Jim Rohn tells a story about a scorpion and a frog, and they meet on the bank of this water, and the frog's getting ready to jump in the water to swim across to the other side. And the scorpion shows up, and he says, "Hey, Mr. Frog." He says, "I need a ride. I can't swim, and I need to get over to the other side. How about I jump on your back and you carry me over?" And the frog said, "What are you kidding? Scorpions, they sting frogs and eat them. There's no way I'm going to bring you over." And the scorpion says to the frog, "Mr. Frog, you're not thinking right." He says, "If I sting you on the way over, I can't swim. We both drowned." He says, "Why don't you just put me on my back and put me on your back and get me over the other side?" And the frog says, "Well, I guess you're right." So the scorpion harps on the back of the frog, and he starts swimming across the other side. And sure enough, halfway across, the scorpion stings him. So now the frog and the scorpion are going down for the 3rd time, barely surviving. And the frog looks at the scorpion and says, "What are you thinking? Not only am I going to die, but you're going to die as well. Why did you do that? He says, because I'm a scorpion. And you see the associations in our lives. We cannot entertain evil, even in the smallest amount. Because you see, what happens is it starts as an infection and ultimately becomes a disease. We have to be very careful about the associations in our lives and who comes into our lives, because they directly affect our thoughts and our spirit. And our spirit will ultimately decide the production of the fruit, the joy. Joyful people look for the positive and disregard the negative. They control the amount of negative that enters their life through what they hear, read, and certainly through who they associate with. The third area is this, is managing and controlling our words. What I know is, again, our thoughts produce our words reinforce our beliefs. I challenge you to guard your words. There's a book called Hung by the Tongue. Wonderful book. Highly recommended. But what our words do is, again, they reinforce our beliefs, not only to others, but to ourselves as well. Think about this for a second. Think about the answer to this question. How are you doing? How are you doing? We answer that question probably 10 times a day, sometimes as many as 30 times a day if we're in a very social setting. How many times do we answer the question, oh, I'm doing okay. Wish I could be better. Thank God it's Friday. You see, those words come out of our mouth and they enter our own ears. And in doing that, we program our own subconscious mind for an expectation of what's to come. When we say those words, we hear them, and then our body takes a shape, slumped shoulders. Whereas if we say wonderful, great, couldn't be better, our ears hear that as well, and the expectation of those things to come. We have an assistant coach who Ronnie knows well, Mario Sanchez. Mario has 4 kids, and I've known him since he's had the development of these kids. The oldest is 9, the youngest is 3, so you're going to get an understanding of what life is like in their house. And especially as they were growing, of the nights that I know he came into work with very little sleep, sometimes just a couple of hours because 1 or 2 kids were up. And every time you ask Mario how he was doing, irregardless of the night he had, he always says, wonderful, great, couldn't be better. The reason why he says is not only you're going to hear it, I'm going to hear it, but he hears it as well. And when we experience that expectation, we learn one of life's greatest principles, and we get what we expect in life. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like a friend of yours brought a brand new red car. And he calls you up and he says, I bought a brand new car. I'm going to meet you on the corner of 3rd and Main in just a few minutes. So you go out in the corner of 3rd and Main, but you forget to ask him what kind of car it is. So you're on the corner of 3rd and Main, and you're out there looking, and there goes a car, and that's not his. And another one goes by, and that's not his. And sure enough, in a few minutes, his car comes up, brand new red Mustang convertible, opens the door, and he says, how many blue cars came by? And you say, I have no idea. I wasn't looking for the blue car. I was looking for a red car, and I know exactly how many red cars came by, because that's what I was looking for. You see, our words are our own self-fulfilling prophecy. We prophesize our future by our words. What is it that we are looking for? When we get up in the morning, what is it that we are looking for? What is it that we are expecting? Because whatever we're looking for, it's out there. If we're looking for the positive, if we're looking for the joy, it's out there. If we're looking for the negative, it's out there as well. But it is our choice what we decide to look for. What helps shape those thoughts of what our expectations are is what we read and who we associate. And then we use our words to express that. And I challenge you to, in those areas of your life that you read from good books every single day, and the discipline to do that, to shape your thoughts and ideas and your spirit. to evaluate your associations, positive and negative, to make sure those people around you are feeding you information, that you are lifting them up and they are lifting you up. And then express those in your words. Now, reading from good books, associating with positive people, using good words doesn't eliminate all the obstacles in our life. It will not put you in a situation that everything that happens is going to be wonderful and perfect. No. But what happens is when you shape your thoughts and your spirit in such a way, when those obstacles come, you are prepared to find the value in them, the joy. And when you have that faith, when you have that expectation, now you will move forward from there looking for the positive. It's kind of like this. We tell our guys that when we're playing in games, when referees make calls that we disagree with, let it go. Let it go. Why? Well, this. I said before the game, if you knew absolutely without a doubt that we were going to win that game, you knew what the result was, you knew what the outcome was going to be, and it was going to be in your favor, why waste any time arguing a call? Why spend any time arguing something that has nothing to do with where you're going and the outcome? And how many times in life do we find ourselves in a position where we are anxiety-filled, fear-filled, doubtful, because we don't have the faith and the belief that where we're heading is in the right direction, and the outcome is going to be in our favor. We wake up every morning, Tina and I, saying God's favor is upon us, and we simply look for that, those opportunities to prove that God's favor is upon us. And again, dealing with those challenges in such a way is important to finding and experiencing joy. I'm going to leave you. I know we want to get into the groups. I'm going to leave you with an acronym real quick that I think will help from a standpoint of remembering, and it is joy. When you think about joy, you think about Jesus. Well, first and foremost, having Jesus staying in your life. First and foremost, that we have that connection, that spirit within us, that indwelling of Jesus in our life. Secondly, is others. We know in our lives, for Tina and I, that joy is most present when we are positively influencing the lives of others. Studies have shown that it's very difficult to be depressed when you're helping somebody else. Depression is a very egotistical thing. So others, making sure that after Jesus is in your life, your focus is on helping others. And the last thing is yourself. The focus on yourself. And there needs to be a focus on yourself, because for you to experience joy, for you to help others, you first must grow yourself. There has to be a development within you first before you can significantly help others. Jesus, others, yourself. That is the acronym where you'll find joy and experience joy. Joy is not in things, it is in us. And it is a fruit of the Spirit. Kindle that Spirit. And I challenge you to do that. Be disciplined in doing that on a daily basis, that you kindle that Spirit within you to experience joy, not only in the good moments, but in all moments, in everything that you're doing. Ronnie, thanks so much for having me up here. I'll be around for a little bit. I got another 10 minutes. Maybe I'll head around to some of the tables and just introduce myself. Hopefully we'll come back and share with you again sometime. But again, I thank you for the time. Thank you.